Welcome to the show, guys. What's up? This is the Nerd Review. I'm Tony Hansen, joined by the rest of the crew, and today we are looking at Moon Knight. Moon Knight on Disney Plus. We have Todd joining us right now. Todd, welcome. And Moon Knight was pretty good. I have to say that I think some people were turned off in the beginning because it was a very weird first episode. Not weird in a bad way. Just an unusual first episode. People didn't know what to think. And I think some people got turned off right away. Catherine was turned off right away from watching it. I know my wife was kind of like, she wouldn't have watched it if I didn't encourage her to watch it. How did everyone here feel about it? Let's just talk about the first episode, like the intro to the show.
Yeah, it was a little, obviously intentionally confusing, but it's tough to stick with the show when like they present something to you and it's not really clear exactly what's happening. Like it's either going to like hook you and say, oh, I got to watch this. Like I got to find out what's happening to these characters, or it's going to turn you off if you have no patience and you're just going to say like, nah, I don't know what's happening. I don't have the patience for the show. I'm going to leave. But
Right.
yeah, but I think the first episode like did a good job of kind of introducing some characters and it did hook me when basically with his missing time. Like I kind of wanted to find out what was happening. I wanted to find out what Harrow's deal was, and I wanted to find out what was what was happening with Steven and the missing time. So I thought it was good. I thought the first episode at least did its job.
Yeah, I liked the first episode. I liked the confusion with like just all the fight scenes, and then he just destroys his enemies, but you don't know how. I also liked the whole thing with the date, and you don't really know what's going on with that. I feel like it left a lot for you to wonder and want to find out. Like, all right, how is he destroying these guys? Like, I think that was the coolest thing because he really didn't know what the heck was going on, and like it was like he was gonna die, and then out of nowhere he's just destroying everybody. So for me, that was like, all right, I guess I wasn't as impatient maybe as some people. I didn't care about not knowing. I wanted to know though, so it kept me hooked.
Yeah, it's fun. Todd, Damien?
Damien, go ahead.
I was very hooked in for the first episode. Like, I just thought it was really great the way that they sort of just unraveled the story and kind of led you down all these different thoughts of, what's going on here and all these questions. And I thought it was just awesome. It totally hooked me. I loved the series. That was great.
Yeah, I was also hooked from like the first episode. I thought it was like the kind of confusing storytelling. They could have done a little bit more of that, but that's just me being a little bit of a critic. Liam said it the first time we did it. I liked the way it was shot, and it was giving us that same kind of uncertainty that Steven was dealing with in his whole life. There was little nods to the end. Now that we've seen the end of it, there was nods to it in the first episode of things that would be coming up, like Talwettit, the one-finned goldfish, which was probably like the biggest question is, how did the goldfish get its fin back? Was he always imagining it with one fin? Did it always have the two? Did Mark get another one? I don't know. That never got answered for me, but I did enjoy, and it did make me want to watch it more. I like that it didn't just start off like Justice League, where they introduced them and they were just already in and fighting and just going over everybody's, big slobber knocker fights right out of the gate. I just like the development more.
Did we find out really a lot about the fish? Because I was confused about that too. So I guess you have to assume that the fish is being changed by the third figure?
I remembered in the episode where I think it was the second to last episode, they show his brother drawing a fish with one fin, and he comments on that. So I don't know if it was like Steven, like a machination of his mind, just seeing the one fin because that was what his brother did. His brother drew the last time he saw him, and he didn't even know about it at that time. So like, I don't know, that was just like baked in, just like he was into French poetry and Egypt, like his wife, Mark's wife, was.
Right.
And then, another thing that they like kind of like foreshadow, the girl in the museum in the first episode asks him how he was judged when he went to the Field of Reeds. And
Right.
He's like, I'm not dead. Like, I never went to the Field of Reeds, but then he goes to the Field of Reeds.
That's right.
That the Field of Reeds, to talk about it in the order that we're discussing it, was wild. Just interesting. And then he goes into the place where basically they have to balance the scales, and otherwise, like, he'll be taken over by the land. He turns like stone, looks like. And when Steven gets taken in by the by like the stone and such, and Mark goes back for him. It's bold because I remember when that was happening. I was thinking about like he doesn't really know. Like in real life, you might want to talk, and find out the actual information about what's going to happen if I go down there. Like, is there a chance? Like he just goes.
No, he has no idea. He's totally giving himself
ballsy.
to that mission, to not leaving Mark behind. No, Steven behind. Sorry. But yeah, I thought the same thing. It was like that was stepping into the abyss, like him going back.
Yeah.
Completely, that could have been it. Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Todd.
No, I concede. Floor yours.
I was going to say, like, the way the show was going, too, like, the way they presented the whole balancing of the scales, and, like, you have to go back in time, and you have to, like, relive these memories, and Steven has to face how he was created, and that he was created, like, that he was a creation of Mark. And then, like, when he sees it, and when Steven is pulled off the boat, and he's turned to stone, and he's basically like, you get the impression that Steven is no longer like an alternate personality that Mark has. That's when his scales are balanced. So like the way the show presented it up to that point, it was almost like, okay, like now Mark is only going to be living with himself, whether he's in the field of reeds or wherever it is he's going. He's not going to have this other personality. And when his scales were balanced, I thought they were treating this as like, okay, this is a positive thing. Like, maybe looking back at his past, Mark is able to kind of like reconcile everything that happened in his life and kind of like move forward. But like they didn't go that way at all. They went in the opposite direction where like Mark almost embraced Steven and like everything that Steven meant to him. And like, he showed his appreciation for Steven, like shielding him from all the abuse from his mom. So like he showed that appreciation by going back to the sand, which I thought was great, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that whole episode was really heavy. Like, imagine reliving all the trauma you had in your life, but now also showing another version of yourself and having him experience it for the first time. I liked when he finally did go to the field of reeds. You could like tell he was a person that was in love with his own misery. Like they were like, "Here's paradise that awaits you forever," and he was like, "Nah, I'm going back for my bud." Like that whole episode, they were like, I don't even know if it's because that's like when the first trauma happens that he's locked in reacting to those things like a child. Like when he didn't want it, he started hitting himself and all that kind of stuff going on. And him and Steven and Mark were both like hitting each other, hugging like little kids. Like they're best friends. That was clearly the episode they became closer friends and understood each other. And then even subsequently when they were fighting, they were more in sync with it like the whole time. And also when they kept getting pulled out of the reality, the higher reality where there was Dr. Harrow talking to them and all the different things, it was when Mark was in states of like enhanced emotional reactions. He was the one to get pulled into Dr. Harrow's, and then when Steven did that as well, he was now talking with him. And I just thought that was good storytelling, the way they had whoever was the most emotionally unstable or feeling the most emotional at the moment was the one that was exactly like they were saying, dealing with the organizing principle.
Right.
I think it's wild to see the difference between Marvel at the beginning and Marvel now. I won't talk about it yet, but I saw Doctor Strange recently, and I'll just say that the movie is very cerebral, and Moon Knight is very cerebral. It's very deep, and you can get lost in it. And you can watch it for its surface stuff and enjoy it, and its action and things like that, and it's great in that way as well. But also like the level of depth that Marvel is going to, because I think they realize they need to, because it's like this is where they're now making content for superhero fans that have seen this stuff before, and I think they've always been made sure they're one step ahead from the beginning by not giving us all the origin stories, because there was a time where we were just sick. We're still kind of sick of them, but we'll watch them in creative ways. Sick of origin stories, so they skip them when they can, and so I think they're very much still on the ball with things. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I remember thinking back in 2008, thinking and having conversations with our friends and saying, do people really care about Iron Man? Are people really going to want to go see this movie? And immediately I was like, yeah, they do. But I remember thinking, like, Iron Man is not Spider-Man, like he's not as universally love this Spider-Man is. But now I think, since 2008, since Iron Man, since the Avengers, since phases 1, 2, and 3, and now we're moving into phase 4. Like you said, Tony, they've explored so many different characters and so many different stories, and like nothing's flopped. Everything has hit. And it seems like every character that they introduce is connecting in some way, so they could just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and introducing like more and more, traditionally obscure characters. Like I don't think your average person on the street would say like, oh yeah, I know all about Moon Knight. I can tell you what he is and who he is, but like they introduced a series, Moon Knight, on Disney Plus, and plenty of people watch it. I think I enjoyed it. I think it was very well done. Certainly like high production value, and I think we're just gonna keep seeing more. She-Hulk is coming out. We have obviously more movies coming out. But yeah, like the longer it goes on for, the more they're gonna have to keep digging. The more characters they're gonna have to keep introducing, and like I think they're gonna have to like tell stories that are different, and even present stories in a different way, like they did with Moon Knight.
Yeah, even from like that phase 1 of Marvel where Iron Man came out and everything, like for a time when you knew what rhythm they were kind of going in, you'd see someone new come in and you'd be like, oh great, now I gotta sit through their origin story movie before we can get back into the action of whatever else is happening. And like I like the way they did it with Moon Knight, where you learn like Steven is a great character for you to follow because he's also learning about everything brand new as it's happening. And same thing with like Scarlet Scarab, whoever his wife is supposed to be. Like they kind of rewrote her character from the comics, and like Scarlet Scarab is some like really obscure type character, kind of going with what Dan's saying. They got to bring people from the bottom of the barrel, just to not even just bottom of the barrel like quality wise, but just kind of obscure to get people into it. And they know they have the money to do it, and they have some creative geniuses over there working on these good deep stories that basically whoever it is, I know it'll be done pretty well. They all have interesting backstories and just villains to fight and situations to kind of work off of.
Right. And it's like, they can keep it, as long as we buy it, we buy into it, I should say, they'll keep giving us these new stories. And then I'm sure they're thinking of, okay, when we've gotten to that point, then we need to put it back on that track of like the next story building up to like a supervillain or something like that, because then it's like they can be on reaction. But we're not in reaction mode. We're actually on creation mode, like in Marvel. It's like we're creating new threads, new stories, new things are happening. And then it'll be like when you're going into Infinity War, where it's like, now let's watch those characters we made react to the world and try to survive it. And then perhaps to go back to that creation mode after. But, we're definitely in a very interesting time with all the content that's coming out. There's so much content coming out. And like we said, they're going into deeper characters and characters that I constantly think I'm very worried for that. Ant-Man I was worried for before. To say that now sounds insane because how amazing it is. But I was with Guardians of the Galaxies. I was worried for. I was even worried for Thor 2, which was a little shaky to me. But I watched it again. It wasn't bad. It's pretty good. But yeah, it's different times right now. Damien, what do you expect from the future from Marvel to like keep up and to keep things fun and engaging?
Oh man. Well, I wish I knew exactly, but I hope that they keep trying to sort of push the limits and do things that we haven't seen before. I felt like we got that a bit with Moon Knight. Moon Knight struck me as a series that I hadn't really seen anything like that before. I wasn't familiar with the character ahead of time, so I was kind of learning as we were going along with the series, with like a lot of people, I'm sure. And I just felt like the level of like production and like just the way that they just crafted that show was just really well done and made it a pleasure to watch. And like, and it felt like something I hadn't seen before. So if they could continue to do that and make stuff that's entertaining and exciting and fun to watch, that again, and also challenges you. That was like the other thing I loved about Moon Knight right off the bat. That first episode, like everyone was saying, all these questions that were coming up. Well, I liked that they didn't answer all the questions right away. I liked that not everything was just kind of just laid out for you. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to go through an origin and all that kind of thing, like people were saying. So because it was different, I think that's a big strength, and I'd like to see more things
Yeah.
that are different, that they push that sort of level of production. And
This was truly something where they brought you into like not even the middle of the story. It felt like they brought you into like the story from 3/4 of the way through and just play catch up as you're getting through it to the end. Ryan, speaking of catch up, Ryan's been watching all the movies, has been catching up with the rest of the world. Ryan, what are you up to on your chronological watch?
So I kind of destroyed the order a little bit because of just things getting in the way of me being able to sit down and watch it. But I think next is Black Panther in my watching playlist. But I just started and I got halfway through WandaVision, the show. I did go to the movies Saturday night, I believe, to go see Doctor Strange. So that was great, and I'm excited. I would love to see if they somehow bring Moon Knight into the fold with some of the other Marvel characters. And if, like you said, they're kind of in this creation mode right now. So if they tell the story of everybody, maybe like a few different characters, and then make another Avengers style super movie with all these people, I feel like there's so much that could be done with just the Moon Knight character because of the 3 split personalities, and we still don't even know about Jake Lockley at all. I saw something online that I don't know. I was talking to somebody who also likes Marvel movies, and they weren't sure if it was just an error or if it was an accidental leak. But apparently, Marvel put out something after the season finale saying that it was a season finale instead of a series finale, which they kept saying it was just like a series and it was going to be done after this one thing. They put out something after Moon Knight was over, and they said the season finale. So if they do a second season and go more into Jake, which I don't know if they will, but it would be cool unless they just told us that story and then we get to see Jake in future movies with like maybe another Avengers style movie, but the next gen with like Doctor Strange and everybody that movie brings along. That'd be pretty dope.
So it's interesting. It's very tricky to see, so let's talk about, we everything we saw and we learned from Moon Knight. We also could talk about everything we saw from Loki and what we saw from WandaVision. Does it make things tricky to see like season 2s of certain shows? I feel like for me, I don't know if I want to watch a WandaVision 2. You have to convince me.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be really hard to, it wouldn't have the same draw that it did in the beginning because it was like zany and out there and kind of weird and hitting all the different nostalgia points that everybody liked to see. You couldn't really replicate that again.
And I feel like I don't want to give too much away, but I feel like the WandaVision show served its purpose, especially if you go see Doctor Strange. It'll kind of piece other stuff together. So I feel like a season 2 might not make that much sense unless if you saw Doctor Strange, maybe it could then elaborate on something else. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't be like opposed to it, but I think it doesn't make sense as of now.
Yeah, I feel like WandaVision was a whole lot of establishing her motives for Doctor Strange, for that movie to come out. Moon Knight, I feel like, gave a lot of nods to like having a season 2, and I think if anything, they were just like, all right, we'll try for a season, see what kind of reaction we're going to get out of it, because the way they ended it too was really dramatic. I don't know if we're going to do spoilers or anything like that, or if I just shouldn't say it.
For
the end
Moon Knight?
the end of Moon Knight.
I believe we could talk to it, guys. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. God.
I was just about to blurt it out really quickly. I did feel that panic. Like you started counting down. I was like, quick, I got to say it all. I did like at the end as they show them wheeling out Harrow, which I didn't mention. I really liked Ethan Hawke in the role. He disappeared into it and didn't.
Yeah.
He did a really good job. But like they're wheeling him out and they get in the nice limo, and then all of a sudden Khonshu has a really nice suit, like Steven suit style, and then they show Jake Lockley pull the gun, and anybody that knows of him from the comics and knows the name, they're like, oh, Jake Lockley. And then all of a sudden they made him Spanish too. Like that's even more drama on top of it. And he's like, now he speaks a foreign language. Let's see what that's all about. He's, like the backstory was different for basically everybody from the comics. And I wasn't like a huge diehard. I saw him in a few things, which Tangent, he has a personality where he thinks he's Spider-Man. So I was like, that's interesting to see if anything happens with that. But I did like the way they set it up, and it looks like it's big primed for a season 2, but they wanted to see what kind of reaction they'd get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems for us like it's easy, but I'm sure they're watching with bated breath, to see like how people are going to respond to all these shows. But like the acting, it was every show so far. There's so many great moments for acting. This
Oh yeah.
This series was like A+. Every single person was doing such a great job. Oscar Isaac, just simply. I'm just, when you're. It's one thing to watch something and then to watch it and know that you're just being impressed while you're watching him flip the personalities, and you have to remind yourself this is one person doing this.
Yeah, I don't know if we spoke about it on this show. I don't think we did because we reviewed the first 2 episodes, but I watched some reviews on them, and like he goes into so much detail to separate the 2 characters. And then there's one point when they come into they meet, I forget her name, but the hippo lady.
Tawedit?
Yes, Tawedit.
Yeah.
When they're both like screaming, but like the 2 mannerisms, like one of them is screaming, trying to wave,
Right?
He's like terrified, and the other one's just like,
yeah.
I was like,
I watched that like twice to just see the difference.
He's Oscar is a
Amazing
legend.
job.
He's great. He's done so many different things now, from villains to Moon Knight to Poe Dameron.
Yeah, this is his 3rd foray into Marvel, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes, yeah.
What else has he done with Marvel?
He was
in
Apocalypse in the X-Men, yeah.
Right.
And he was Spider-Man 2099 and Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Moon Knight.
So they're using him every way possible.
So you said there's a Moon Knight character. There's a personality of his that believes he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and one that thinks he's Wolverine.
that could blend everything together so well. That'd be amazing.
Right? Yeah, like Spider-Man's still around, and Wolverine, like there's been Disney just got like the old legacy X-Men movies on there, and everybody like always wants to. Tony, I believe you even said it. You just want more Hugh Jackman.
I just want. Every movie I watch, I'm waiting for Hugh Jackman to like just be in the movie. And like I won't be happy until I see it done.
Yeah, like every after credits now, you're just waiting for him. You're like,
I literally am like that every time. I'm just waiting for it.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So let's wrap it up. Let's give a final number from 1 to 10 on the show. Let's keep it short. Tell people why it's that number that you think it is, and why they should watch it if it's good. Todd, you go first.
I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 or 16 out of 20 if we're doing it out of 20. I remember we were doing that for a bit. I thought it was shot well, it was scored well, it was cast well. The story was told in a way that didn't seem like it was shoving anything down your throat. And if anything, you were like, all right, I remember that from the beginning. And everybody gave good performances, and it set us up for more content that I'm excited to see. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
Damien.
All right, I am also giving it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this series, and I just thought it was fantastic. Just great storytelling, great actors, great performances, all that, and just really fun to watch, and kept you questioning yourself the whole way. It was awesome.
Dan.
I will say, I'm gonna say closer to 7 out of 10. I thought the fight scenes were awesome. My favorite part of the whole series were the costumes. Moon Knight's costumes and the Gods' costumes I thought were incredible. Same thing. I love Ethan Hawke's acting. I loved Khonshu. He was my favorite character in the whole series, so I would watch season 2 just to see Khonshu. But like in getting to like the 8 or 9 level, it would have to be a series that like really, really hooked me with either one of the characters or one of the stories that I would want to go back and watch it again. But like, despite how good the good parts were, I really feel like I could go without ever seeing it again. Like I saw it once, it was good, and that's enough. So that's 7 out of 10 for me.
Ryan.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I liked it a lot. I was pumped to see after the first 2 episodes. I was hooked. I feel like Oscar Isaac is such a great actor that he could do more with the character, and I want to see him in more roles with it. The show kept me every episode. At the end, I was like, all right, I just gotta wait now for the next one. I'm so used to binging stuff, so I haven't watched a show like this in a while where I was waiting every week for an episode to come out. So that feeling alone just gives it for me a 9 out of 10.
I think I'm gonna go 8.5 because I can't. I feel like 8 is like a little too low. I feel like 9 for me is a little too generous. I have to go right in the middle with that 8.5. So I think Oscar Isaac just like made the whole thing. I think if you changed that actor out of that role, it would have been a dramatically different movie. But again, everyone around him was as good, in their own ways. The story was interesting, creative, done cleverly. So yeah, solid, very solid. I didn't know what to expect, coming into Moon Knight, and I didn't know about Moon Knight before. I heard of the character, but didn't know anything really about him. So I was pleasantly surprised with the show, and I definitely would watch a season 2 if it came out. I'd be very interested to watch. So that's it, guys. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Tell us where you put it at. How did you like Moon Knight? Where do you think Marvel's going, and what are you excited for to come up? Is it Wolverine in every movie that comes in? Maybe. Should it be? Maybe. We'll see. So that does it here for the Nerd Review, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Welcome back to the Adventurers Shopping Network, where everything is definitely not cursed.